Barbarians are my penultimate class guide for Baldur's Gate 3 Early Access Patch 9. Just bards left. So what are Barbarians? Your stereotypical raging hunk of meat. The strong embrace the wild that hides inside. Keen instincts, primal physicality, and most of all, an unbridled, unquenchable rage. So what do we get as a Barbarian? First of all, we get the highest number of hit points of any class, which is nice. We get strength saving throw proficiency. Not too many strength saving throws. Usually it's for escaping things like entangle. And constitution saving throws. It's good for resisting things like poison and some damage. Proficiency in light, medium armors and shields. And all weapons, simple and martial. And at level 1, we get the rage. Bonus action as it is. So while raging, you deal 2 extra damage with melee and improvised weapons, and when throwing objects, so just a straight damage upgrade. You're also resistant to physical damage, so slashing, piercing, bludgeoning, and you have advantage on strength checks and saving throws, and we're already proficient with them, and we get advantage, which is great. It lasts 10 turns, but it ends earlier than 10 turns if you haven't attacked a creature or taken damage. This does include throwing weapons, so if you can't get in melee range of something, just throw a hand axe or something, it's fine. You can't cast or concentrate on spells while raging. It's going to be quite a big thing for multi-classing in the future. And that's it, no choices at level 1. One of the simplest classes to pick, just like a rogue I suppose at level 1. So Barbarians, what races go well with Barbarians? I'm mostly going to be looking for races that give strength, because that means we can hit with any weapon. Some of the weapons that deal the most damage use strength, such as a Great Axe, which is on this Barbarian's back already. Now, as I've said in other videos, you don't have to pick the stat that I'm telling you to. You can very feasibly use dexterity. It does mean, however, that the weapons you do and can use, they don't deal as much damage when we actually look at the damage die of the weapons. So I'm going to be sticking with strength. Of course, you are more than free to pick something else. This is just looking for races that have a stat linked to the class. So elves don't get any bonus to strength. Tieflings, we have here Zariel Tieflings, who also at level 1 get access to Thaumaturgy. Seemingly quite good because it gives you advantage on intimidation and performance checks. I have to say though, Barbarians get loads of intimidation choices, and very often, just because we're a Barbarian, we actually get advantage already. However, it's still lovely to have. Now Zariel Tieflings also do get Searing Smite and Branding Smite once per long rest. However, while raging, we can't actually use those, which is a little bit disappointing. So as much as the strength bleeds into Barbarians, the spells that Zariel Tieflings in particular get, we're not going to easily be able to use them, not while raging at least. Humans, we get +1 strength, dexterity and constitution, all of which are useful, being usually a melee fighter. Githyanki. Now, one sad thing about Githyanki is that all these proficiencies go to waste. They overlap, we've already got these proficiencies. But we do get strength +2, which is lovely. Mage Hand, don't really care about that so much. But at level 3 we get jump, which you can cast before raging, and you can still get the extra jump. And also Misty Step at level 5, however, while raging we can't use Misty Step. Bit of a downside. Dwarves get Constitution +2, which is great. Something I didn't mention earlier, bit of a mistake. Barbarians do get unarmored defense. So if you're not wearing any armor, your armor class is equal to your Constitution modifier and your Dexterity modifier on top of 10. At the moment, this dwarf would have an armor class of 15, based on +2 from this Dexterity and +3 from this Constitution. However, since we can wear medium armor, such as Githyanki Halfplate, which starts at 15, and add your Dexterity to it, most of the time we're not going to be getting use out of the unarmored defense. There's not really any reason not to wear medium armor. Back to races, so having this Constitution really helps. Obviously, the more hit points you have, the more damage you can take. Interestingly, it's the Gold Dwarf that gets Dwarven Toughness, so you get an extra 1 hit point per level if you want to stack up hit points. But in terms of stats, Shield Dwarfs are where it's at, because we get Strength +2 and Constitution +2 for a total of +4. This is the only race that gets 2 +2s. I mean, Half-Elves get a +2 to Charisma and +1 to Strength and, let's say, Dexterity or Constitution. Half-Elves are going to make a good choice for any class because of the choice of the ability improvements here. Now, if I was being a Barbarian, would I be a High Elf? Probably not, because we can't use most of these during combat while raging. And raging has the same effect as Blade Ward anyway, so I probably wouldn't pick a high half-elf. Usually cantrips, having an extra cantrip is kind of cool, kind of nice. Outside of combat, I suppose you could cast light or something like that. Wood half-elf can and is good because we get fleet of foot, as in an extra 5 feet of movement speed, and the sooner your barbarian can reach an enemy, the better. And for drow, I probably wouldn't, because the only thing we get from drow are the racial spells, which are Dancing Lights, Fairy Fire, and Darkness. all of which are concentration, and we can't concentrate while raging, so I would usually avoid Drow half health here. Halflings, a strong heart halfling would actually be a good choice if you are making a dexterity barbarian, because we get dexterity, we get constitution, we get advantage on saving throws against poison and resistance to poison damage always, and we get lucky and brave, so we got all these other small additional benefits, but no dark vision. Now gnomes make interesting barbarians. I once made a build based on a gnome barbarian because gnomes get gnome cunning, so we get advantage on intelligence, wisdom and charisma saving throws. So even if we've got a bad intelligence, wisdom and charisma, we can have advantage. Plus, as a barbarian, we get proficiency in strength and constitution. That leaves dexterity, but we'll see at level 2, we can get advantage on dexterity saving throws as well. So if you want a barbarian that's good at saving throws, pick a gnome. The downside is that we don't get any strength bonus. So maybe you want to go with Deem Gnome to get dexterity, extra dark vision, advantage on stealth checks. I would point out that if you're going to be a particular subclass of barbarian, a forest gnome would overlap and I would stay away from it. Then it comes to skills. Personally, if I'm building a barbarian with a high strength, I just stack it up with athletics, so you've got a great chance to shove people and resist being shoved. Intimidation can be a good choice because we do actually get advantage on a lot of checks, so proficiency plus advantage, usually a very good idea. This also links to your origin. You pick whatever background gives you the proficiencies that you want. And then for abilities, let's actually go to, let's just say human. So as a barbarian, I would definitely put strength up to 16. Dexterity, I'd be quite happy leaving at 14. Constitution, either 14 in this case or 16, depending on what you want to do with the other stats. Because as a barbarian, as any character, you might want a high wisdom to resist some control spells, or maybe you want a high charisma because you want your character to be the main character. You want them to do all of the charisma based skills using all the dialogue options, so perhaps you want to increase charisma. Let's say I picked Githyanki. We've got the possibility of going strength up to 17, which if you're going to use the Hag's Hair for strength, I would definitely leave it at 17. Or at least an odd number, 15 perhaps. Intelligence, you can probably get away with intelligence as a dump stat. Anyway, overall, you're looking at either a high strength or dexterity, depending on what weapons you're using, a decent constitution, because you will be taking damage, and then whatever you see fit. Or getting to level 2 even. We're on the Nautiloid, something unique to the Barbarian.
Don't waste time on
Trying to get Shadowheart out of this thing. Our first class dialogue, I think in the whole game. The pod's lit and pull. Come on, we can do it. So we have to try, we actually have to put in a strength ability check. 10, not bad. Hopefully, not too difficult. Hey, look at that. Who needs to complicate things with finding keys and rune stones and things when you can just rip the lid off and also get shocked at the same time. And also on the Nautiloid from Commander Zolk, don't forget to pick up the Everburn Blade. You may as well pick up the Scale Mail as well. Just want to point out that this Barbarian has a armor class of 14, but if I stick on the Scale Mail, it's 16 all of a sudden. Kind of makes sense to wear medium armor for most Barbarians. At level 2, we get more hit points, and then we'll get Danger Sense. This is what I mentioned during character creation. You get advantage on dexterity saving throws against traps, spells, and surfaces, so even against something like grease, this works. And then Reckless Attack. Throw all caution to the wind to gain advantage on your attack roll. The downside to that is that enemies have advantage against you. Best used while raging because you have resistance to damage, but I would say just go for it anyway. And once we get to level 5, you want to use this on your first attack if you want to be using it. Otherwise, you might waste that attack that doesn't have Reckless Attack. So I'm going to show you 2 things before I show you level 3. First of all is Rage. It takes a bonus action, as already mentioned, and you can only cast it during combat. Outside of combat, this doesn't work. We got a lovely intro there. So now I'll do an extra 2 damage when I hit with an attack. And then also Reckless Attack. So I'm going to get advantage. So if I don't really need it here because I've got a 95% chance to hit anyway. So it's 95% chance there. If I use Reckless, 100%. It's not actually 100%. It's just rounded. The 12 slashing damage, 7 on 2d6, perfectly average. Plus 3 from the Strength modifier and plus 2 from Rage for 12. And so now, if I was to attack my own Barbarian, actually says I've got advantage because of Reckless Attack. This Barbarian has got a high dexterity, so I've given her a short sword for now because that's all I have found, though there is a rapier just up ahead. I'm also going to rage. 95% chance again, but I'm going to use reckless attack just to be safe. And so here we got 4 plus 3 from dexterity because it's the higher out of strength and dexterity, and plus 2 from rage. This weapon is only 1d6, whereas the weapon that this Barbarian has used, disregarding the fire damage, is 2d6. Literally, the damage die is twice as high. And this is just but one of the first example I've come across of a Barbarian intimidation check that I was talking about. Any intimidation check we have as a Barbarian, we get advantage. And I happen to pick up intimidation proficiency. This is quite likely to work.
Well, in that case...
So I've just got into this combat, I've just used rage, and just want to show you, if you throw a hand axe, oh no. Wrong Barbarian to choose because no dark vision on Githyanki. Oh well, we'll try this one. There we are. Perfect. Do get rage damage on a thrown weapon, so if you can't get into melee range, try throwing something. At level 3 we get an additional rage charge. So far until level 3 we've had 2 rage charges per long rest, now it's up to 3. We also get to choose our subclass, labelled here as Berserker or Wildheart. So Berserker, their rage now turns into Frenzy, which gives you the use of Frenzied Strike and Enraged Throw. What's really cool about both of these is they require a bonus action to use. So Frenzied Strike is just another melee attack. I say just, it's another melee attack. It's great, it's amazing. You can always do at least 2 attacks from now on. And then Enraged Throw, this is kind of better in a way. It doesn't maybe do as much damage because thrown weapons don't do as much damage as melee weapons. However, you throw it at a target and you knock them prone. There's no saving throw against this. You just knock them prone. So if you start off with this, even if you're standing next to an enemy or nearby an enemy, you knock them prone, then you can run up to them, or maybe you're standing next to them, and then you have advantage on your attacks anyway, so you don't have to use Frenzied Strike. But this is really good. It's a bonus action as well, so you can either throw a weapon or have an extra melee attack. There's no downside to doing this. In 5th edition, there is a penalty for using Rage, which gives you a level of exhaustion after it finishes, but we don't get that here. As a Githyanki, I also get the jump spell to cast at level 3. The other choice for subclass is Wildheart. Now really, it's not quite 5 different subclasses, but for Wildheart, we get 5 different choices. Before we look at the choices, we get Speak with Animals. We can just cast it, it lasts until long rest. This is really nice, very thematic. The Wildheart subclass here is very different from 5th edition, where the equivalent would be the Totem Barbarian. Anyway, so you get to pick one of these hearts, one of these bestial hearts, and also, quite nicely, depending on what heart you pick, and you can actually just change anyway, you get some additional you get some piercings. You can, even as a bear heart, you can pick elk piercings or whatever, but when you pick the different bestial heart, you get the piercings that are of that type of bestial heart. So starting with the bear heart, while you rage as a bear heart, you can use Unrelenting Ferocity, and we'll look at that in a second, and you have resistance to all damage except psychic damage. This is your classic, I want to soak up loads of damage and not have to worry about it. Unrelenting Ferocity deals 1d8 plus 2. Amazing! The downside though is it uses an action. So if you're using this, it means you're not dealing damage, and quite often in 5th edition in Dungeons and Dragons, the best defense really is a good offense. The quicker you can get enemies down to 0 hit points, the fewer attacks come your way, so you don't have to worry so much. However, this is nice. It is nice. Eagle Heart, probably my favourite. So you enter a rage, you get Diving Strike. We'll have a look. Oh, we can look at this now. So Diving Strike, leap down onto a foe below you, knocking them prone. And also you don't take damage from the height, so you can jump from a really high place to a really low place, not have to worry about feather fall or anything like that. Enemies also have disadvantage and opportunity attacks against you. Kind of useful. Very nice to have that permanently, and really powerful here. You can use dash as a bonus action. This interacts with a couple of different pieces of armor, which really can make your barbarian even stronger. If it wasn't for the magic items, this is still really quite good, because then you can run up to enemies much more quickly. The Elk Heart, you can use Primal Stampede, and your movement speed increases by 15 feet. That's nice, that's solid, nothing to sniff at. Your barbarian's now running around very quickly, and what does Primal Stampede do? Well, you can charge forward, and then the enemies have to make a dexterity saving throw or be knocked prone. It's just a nice way to get through enemies as well without having opportunity attacks against you. Damage is lacking. It's not really for the damage, it's for the range, as it were, getting places and knocking them prone. Tiger Heart. This time you get something called Tiger's Bloodlust. Lash out to attack up to 3 enemies at once and make them bleed. Bleeding doesn't do lots of damage, it's not really for the damage at all. But if an enemy is bleeding, they have disadvantage on Constitution saving throws, which can then help your spellcasters out especially. And there's no saving throw against this, they are just bleeding. The other positive thing about Tiger's Bloodlust is if you have a weapon that deals additional damage, for example, Levata's Scourge, which you can get from the Goblin Camp, that deals 1d6 necrotic damage to targets nearby. Basically, it applies it to all 3 targets, and so all 3 of them take extra necrotic damage because they're nearby someone who's taken damage from this mace. So you can pick up some really cool weapons that interact very well with Tiger's Bloodlust. And your jump distance increases by 15 feet. Generally, you're going to have a half decent strength most of the time, and you get an extra 15 feet on top of whatever distance you can already jump. Very nice. And lastly, Wolf Heart. So you can use Inciting Howl, stay your allies further. Each ally within earshot can move an additional 10 feet to draw on the next turn. This is nice, this is good, but the downside to this is it doesn't help you maintain your rage, because this uses your whole action. If you use Inciting Howl, you have to make sure of have your Barbarian take some damage, otherwise there's a chance they will lose their rage. Be careful with it, but it's great because it means your allies can move an additional 10 feet, especially helpful for the melee characters in your party, so they can run up to enemies more quickly. And now, really, also very useful, your allies have advantage on melee attack rolls against creatures within 7 feet of you. This is essentially what in 5th edition would be called pack tactics. If another character is within 7 feet of your Barbarian, they have advantage on attack rolls, and that's great. That doesn't use a resource, it's like an inbuilt passive ability you've got. So I'm just about to get into the encounter at the Grove, saving the Grove for the very first time. And I'm going to go through the encounter a few times, going to reload, and just show off these extra abilities that the Barbarian gets, or depending on whether they are a Berserker or Wild Heart. So I'm going to start off with the Berserker, pick one of the Wild Hearts, and then reload and test out the other Bestial Hearts. So this Barbarian is a Bear Heart, uses a bonus action to Rage still. And we can attack the Goblin Tracker. I'm going to use Reckless Attack, there's no reason not to. It says targets too far, they're not really. This is the Berserker, and we get Frenzy. I just want to point out, this Githyanki is concentrating on Mage Hand. And as soon as we go into Rage, the concentration is broken. Perhaps not the same as 5th edition, but it's just the way it is in this game. Now, I've used my bonus action to Rage, so it's not until next turn that I'll see the benefits of being a Berserker. If you don't like the idea of using Reckless Attack, I would suggest that you use Bless, because you really want the Barbarians to be hitting. So we're going to help them out. Alright, so this Barbarian is a long way away from anyone. So what we're going to do to try and maintain our rage is throw. Always a good idea. Let's get a hand axe out. 90% chance. Let's see if we can actually... Let's try and get this Booyarg. Oh, look at that. Knocking them around. Right. So I've maintained my rage. And I'm in no problem. I'm in no trouble. So receive 4 damage, not really much of a problem. Resistant to it because of the Bear Heart. So what I'm going to show you here is actually enraged throw. 75% chance. Knock them prone. No saving throw. Received the prone condition. One thing I want to point out is that if an enemy is prone, it doesn't tell you you've got advantage. But if I attack, I did actually have advantage on that. So be wary of that. Don't worry if it doesn't tell you that you've got advantage against a prone target, because you do. The Bear Heart hasn't taken damage. I'm not sure they will. One way to make sure you do take damage, if you want to take damage to maintain your rage, maybe try force opportunity attacks. Alright, so we've taken a bit of damage. Oh no, we're the Bear Hearts. There we are. And now we have got +8 hit points. And I want to point out this +2 does come from the Constitution modifier of the Barbarian. Oops. The other good thing about Enraged Throw is that you can target one enemy, knowing you won't... Oh, look at that, 13 damage. 5 + 3. Oh, we got the strength modifier added twice. That should not be happening, but obviously I'm glad that it did. I could run up to it potentially, yeah, and try and attack it. Or since this one's only on 3 hit points, maybe let's use Reckless Attack to make sure that one goes down. Right, I'm going to reload and then show you some more of the different Wild Heart options. This Barbarian is now an eagle heart. And now I can get diving strike. Look at the range on this, because also especially since I'm very high. Almost get out to that warg. If I could perhaps go a bit further. Not quite, right. So I'm going to go for the... Who should we go for? Yeah, the Duergar. Looks like we'll be able to make it there.
Get this over with.
Bam! I love that. I love the animation. Animal Spirit, Eagle Rage bonuses. That basically is just the +2 from being in a rage. So we just got the usual 2d6 damage plus 3 strength modifier. But given the extra mobility, compared to goblins, did a good amount of damage, and I'm using the trusty Everburn Blade. This barbarian is the elk heart. Now I get the choice of Primal Stampede. So that 45% chance was for the saving throw. But unfortunately, that's kind of it. This would have been better used had I been down below, and maybe I could have got 2 enemies in that stampede. It's kind of nice. I'm a little bit disappointed by the low damage, but I think the point is that it could effectively hit more than 1 enemy, and it doesn't provoke opportunity attacks. It's kind of nice, but personally I prefer some of the other Wild Heart options. So, showing off the last 2 Wild Heart Barbarian types here, we've got Rage Wolfheart. Cool animal sounds in the background when you first start the rage. Right, so what I'm going to do is come up to here. I might have then gone a bit too far. Oh, no, I haven't. Right, so I'm going to use Inciting Howl just to show it off. Just use my action. All kind of cool noises out there. And the Barbarian themselves even benefited from the extra 10 feet of movement speed. But no action left now. But we can see this goblin who, there we are, has got Wolfheart Spray. The Barbarians' allies have advantage on melee attack rolls against this creature. So just a reminder, to get the advantage you do need to be within a certain distance, 7 feet of the goblin. So before I use a Tiger Heart, I want to point out the jump distance here is 25 feet. Fairly respectable. And now, although I can't use a bonus action to jump, it says 38 feet. A bit strange considering it says it's an extra 15 feet. Oh well. And I can use Tiger's Bloodlust, but there's not much point here. The main downside to Tiger's Bloodlust is you do need enemies all very close to each other. So what I'm actually going to do, I think, is... Yeah, let's get rid of this one. Critical hit, no less. And we'll make our way towards those enemies down there. And hopefully, be able to show it next turn. Alright, so this Barbarian... Oh, I kind of want to get the Barbarian right here. And it looks like I can't run there because Will jumps in the way. Thanks, Will. So, jump there. Massive jump distance. Leaping in like a tiger would on its prey. And use Tiger's Bloodlust. It's quite difficult to see the AoE, and I feel like they reduced the size of the AoE. Perhaps I might be wrong there. They definitely reduced the size of Cleave in patch 9. So we can see if an enemy is highlighted. Let's see if I can just get a bit closer just to be sure. There we are, that's better. Oops, oh well. So hopefully we're going to hit both the Warg and the Goblin. Nope. Yeah, you got to be careful here. The AoE is very small now, even though they're standing basically next to each other. I missed that. I got a critical hit. I do want to point out though, and it is mentioned here when we have this here, the damage from the weapon damage dice, or die depending on which weapon you're using, is halved. But any additional damage, such as fire and poison for example, is not halved. And we get +2. So you gotta be careful with whether, not careful, you need to make a decision whether you want half of the damage from the damage dice. That kind of puts me off using it for most weapons, and especially with a small AoE. But like I said, if you've got a weapon such as Leviathan's Scourge, then actually it can be really, really effective. I want to point out something about Rage. So, Rage, whoops, wrong one. My Rage is impeded because I've just equipped some heavy armor. Some chainmail. He's not proficient with it, but it's not to do with the fact whether he's proficient or not. It says weighed down by heavy armor until the armor is removed. Raging won't grant extra damage, resistant to physical damage, or advantage on strength checks or saving throws. Let's try it then. Let's Frenzy. Doesn't say we can't go into Frenzy or Rage. Just says it's not going to be doing very well. So let's take an attack. If we hit, we would have killed it. And we didn't get the extra +2. Let's see if they can damage me. Oh, I shouldn't have done that, should I? Right, let's go back into a rage. See if I can get an opportunity attack. There we are, critical hit. And we didn't actually get the damage halved. So even though you do get the option to rage while wearing heavy armor, there's no point because you don't get any benefits from it. It's just a complete waste of a bonus action and, well, your armor. At level 4, we get our ability score improvement. Now, if we're going for stats, going for your attacking stat is always going to be good up to the next even number. So maybe strength up to 18 and maybe intelligence up to 10 or strength up to 19. I will be using the Hag's Hair just to show something off. Maybe Constitution as well, because it helps with your not just your hit points, but your armor class if you're not wearing any light or medium armor. As for feats, the big main one is Great Weapon Master. In fact, my Berserker is going to take this. The reason this is very good for a Barbarian is usually we have this -5 penalty to hit, which we still have, but we can give ourselves advantage, which mostly negates this -5, which is really, really good. Plus, always, what's also going to be useful for a non-Berserker is this bonus attack where if you get a critical hit or you kill a creature, you get to have a bonus action that can be a melee attack, but as a Berserker while raging, we always get that anyway. A little bit of overlap, it means we're not going to get maximum use out of it. I probably wouldn't go for Dual Wielder because your offhand attack takes your bonus action, which you're going to rage on the first turn anyway, or potentially rage on the first turn. It can be okay. You could be dual wielding, maybe 2 rapiers, 2 warhammers, but you're not going to get your full utility out of it because you're going to be using a bonus action for raging, maybe jumping as well. Maybe you want defensive duelist to give yourself a use of your reaction apart from opportunity attacks, but I feel like as a Barbarian, you don't need to worry about defense too much. That's what rage is for. You're going to be going all out attack. Don't get heavily armored. This Githyanki has a strength of 17, so going up to strength 18 is useful, but as I just showed, wearing heavy armor is basically pointless, so don't do it. The magic initiates, it's very hard to make a good case for taking them on a Barbarian. Of course, you're free to take anything you want. Not saying spells are useless, but while raging, we can't use any spells, but friends we can use outside of combat. Light we can use before combat, and then it doesn't matter because it doesn't require concentration. It can still work. And as for a spell, once per day, maybe Longer Strider if you want that extra 10 feet of movement speed. Maybe Featherfall for outside of combat, but you've got to think about the opportunity cost. Sure, we can do these things, we have this extra utility, but what we're not taking is Great Weapon Master, which is, I think, clearly one of the strongest choices here. Of course, not everything is about taking the strongest choice, so don't be put off by what I've said if you want to take magic, by all means. Martial Adept, I find just having a single superiority die is just not good enough, really. There's some great battle maneuvers, don't get me wrong, but just one superiority die per short rest, it's not good enough, really, for a non-fighter. Mobile can be good with all characters, especially melee characters, because we get the extra movement speed and you can stop some opportunity attacks coming against you. You don't need basically any of the others. If you really want to go all out on hit points, I suppose tough is fine, but you've already got lots of hit points as a Barbarian. Anyway, this Barbarian is going to go for Great Weapon Master, that is for sure. This other Barbarian is the Wild Heart Barbarian, and I want to point out, every time you level up, you can actually change what bestial heart you have. So I've been playing with the Eagle Heart so far. I quite like it, if I'm honest. I'm going to stick with the Eagle Heart, but I just want to point out you can change, and if you change your bestial heart, you can actually change your piercings as well. And I'm going to stick with the Eagle Heart. This Barbarian isn't going to use Great Weapon Master because she's using a one-handed weapon and it's a finesse weapon, and I'm going to go, because of that, Dexterity +2, because it helps her hit a bit harder. She's going to be lagging a bit behind in terms of damage, so it's nice to be able to hit maybe a bit more than the other Barbarian and get a tiny bit of extra damage and get the extra armor class and initiative and so on. So yeah, she's going to take Dexterity +2, a little bit boring, but always going to be a solid choice. So the level up screen for level 5 doesn't look like we get very much, but we get so many important things. First of all, more hit points. Secondly, an extra attack, so we get to make 2 weapon attacks with our action now, and every action we gain. And we get fast movement. Now before I level up, I'm just going to actually come out of the level up screen to show you this. It says your movement speed increases by 5 while not wearing heavy armor, so yet another reason not to wear heavy armor. So if I come out of the screen, it's going to go to turn-based mode, right? We can see the movement speed is 40 feet. Also, if I hover over here, we can see 40 feet. And I level up. I get Misty Step at level 5 because of my Githyanki. And now my movement speed is 50 feet. Should really be 45. But for some reason, as of patch 9, Oh, I guess since this is the first time we can get to level 5, we can now go an extra 10 feet. Brilliant. Also, what isn't said on the level up screen for level 5 is that we also get a +1 bonus to our proficiency, so attacks are a bit more likely to hit. And lastly, here is the Wild Heart Barbarian. And we get another choice if we want to change our Bestial Heart. This is the last chance to do so. I'm really going to stick with Eagle Heart. And they get all the same things otherwise. Time for items, and now on a Berserker, if you're okay role-playing this, I would advise that you do get branded, because the Gloves of Power are going to be really, really good, because you're going to be taking loads of attacks, so you're much more likely to inflict Bane with that. And included with being branded, we may as well take the Absolute's Talisman. You might be running a bit low on hit points sometimes, so it's absolutely fine to use this, because that will help heal you back up. Not by much, but if you're below 25%, you get 1d8 back. Not loads, but it helps. The Helmet of Grit, I'll show you this in action later. The reason this is great is because when the wearer has 50% hit points or less, they have an additional bonus action. And even without Great Weapon Master, we actually get 2 choices of bonus action every turn anyway, while enraged, well, frenzied. If we use Great Weapon Master, which this Barbarian has, and you get the extra bonus action attack, you can then have 2 melee attacks as a bonus action, as well as 2 attacks with your action. Absolutely brilliant. Armour, I've just gone for the best armour class for medium armour, the same as Githyanki Halfplate. Ring Sunwalker's Gift, kind of essential for a Githyanki or anyone without Dark Vision. Crusher's Ring, always going to be great. Gets you to where you want to be quickly. So this is why this Barbarian's movement speed is 50 feet. Because of Crusher's Ring and the fact it's now level 5. For boots, I'd say there aren't a huge number of great boots for Barbarians. A couple of good ones require you to dash to get some sort of bonus. Here I've given them the Speedy Light feat. I'll show you some other boots, because as with some of my other build videos, I've got more than one Barbarian here, so actually I've got other items on the other character. Then we come to weapons for a Berserk or any strength-based Barbarian. And assuming you're happy to go two-handed and you're using strength, there's loads of good choices. So I had it earlier in the video, the Everburn Blade, never a bad choice, gets extra damage done. We have Hammerhaft, which does bludgeoning damage, which is very useful against Grym. This with Great Weapon Master and all the attacks a Berserker can get, you can take down Grym so quickly. Really, really good. We get the Sword of Justice, a +1 weapon. Now we do get Tears Protection, but if you cast this and then Frenzy or Rage, you lose this. So this isn't as useful as it is perhaps on other classes. And also, I think it's worth trying it. Light of Creation. It's a halberd, does 1d10 damage, but what, plus 1d6? Every time you attack, you have the chance to be stunned. I think it's a DC 10 Constitution saving throw to pass that. And as a Barbarian, you know, we've got a +5 to Constitution saving throw, so perhaps, you know, it's not such a bad idea. It's not too risky. On the other Barbarian, I've equipped a helmet. This is actually quite important, I think. While you've used Reckless Attack, enemies have a 9.75% chance to score a critical hit against you. Now, an individual enemy, that's not so bad. But if there's lots of attacks coming, especially if the enemies have multi-attack, actually, they're going to start happening more and more. And while raging, you take half damage mostly, but you know, it's pretty good not to have that happening. Another choice would be the Helmet of Autonomy. Just to give you proficiency in wisdom saving throws, it's always going to be a strong thing to have. As for a non-armor variant of armor, let's say, the Blood Guzzler Garb, this comes from the Bullet. So if you have less than 50% hit points, you gain Wrath for 1 turn, which says you have a bonus, a +1 bonus to melee damage, but currently it's really kind of broken. And if you get lots of Wrath charges built up, you can actually deal like +8, +9, +10 damage. It's really, really broken. Which is also why I gave this character the Line Breaker Boots, which come from one of the goblins that's guarding Hausen. So where you dash, you gain Wrath for 3 turns. This is why I think the Eagle Heart Barbarian is amazing, because while raging, you gain Dash as a bonus action, which you can use with these boots, or even the boots that the other Barbarian is wearing to get the lightning charges. As for a necklace, whenever the wearer is healed, its weapon drips with poison. It's nice to get extra damage for this Barbarian, especially as they're only wielding a 1d8 weapon, compared to 2d6 from the other Barbarian. One thing that's kind of a bit sad for Barbarians is they don't get a fighting style, so we can't pick the dueling fighting style to give us a +2 damage on this rapier, sadly. I've gone for the Smuggler's Ring. I've kind of run out of good, like, really good rings for Barbarians, but since I've gone for High Dexterity Barbarian, you know, my Sleight of Hand is +6, Stealth is +9, both of which are pretty good bonuses. Not the highest you'll ever come across, but +6 is a decent bonus. And then the spurred band, if I go below 50% hit points to get momentum, just increases her speed, which is already 45 feet, and this would make it up to 55. So rapier +1, a shield. Obviously, I haven't been down to Grym Forge yet, so having the Sparkspool shield, forgotten the proper name for it, that would give an extra +1 armor class, plus some other bonuses. I doubt she'll use a ranged weapon. She probably will be using the rapier mostly because you can get advantage on those attacks. But if she's using a ranged weapon, I've picked up Jolt Shooter to get the extra lightning charges. Nothing wrong with lightning charges. And lastly, the gloves here. Once per turn, after the wearer dashes, which you'll be able to do with a bonus action, they can jump without using a bonus action. So this really increases her mobility because she can dash with a bonus action and jump all with one single bonus action. Obviously, she has to rage in the first turn to do before using that, but otherwise, really, really good. As for one-handed weapons, I mean, especially since she's got high dexterity, this is probably the best finesse weapon we have, apart from Nia's rapier, but that's right at the end of the game. Otherwise, if you had a strength barbarian that has a shield, because you don't have to use a two-handed weapon. Some of the warhammers are good, like the one you get from Draw Ragslin, Faithbreaker, or the Intransigent Warhammer, because you're going to get lots of critical hits. It's going to be really, really good to use. One other thing which I have picked up here, I spoke to Auntie Ethel a couple of times, Elixirs of Hill Giant Strength. Her strength isn't as high. Let's just drink that. Now her strength is 21 until the next long rest. So if you're happy using these, you really don't need a high strength. And if you want lots of potions of Hill Giant Strength, speak to Auntie Ethel in the Druid's Grove before going to the swamp and buy as many as you possibly can. She's a great source of Elixirs of Hill Giant Strength. One set of gloves I forgot to talk about is Reason's Grasp. When the wearer chooses to end their rage, they gain 15 temporary hit points. And so if during your first rage of the day you manage to end your rage, then 15 temporary hit points is massive, even at level 5. The Barbarians here have got 50 hit points. 15 temporary hit points puts you up to 65 hit points in total. Like an extra 30% hit points. It's absolutely massive. So I would say it's a very good choice. These gloves can be found in the cave where the gnolls are attacking. There's a chest just behind the two Zentrum in there, and there's a trap in front of it, so be careful. And this is a Barbarian only item really, because no other class can actually rage. So I'm going to use an old faithful fight here to show off the Barbarians. So we've got surprise because we attack them. So I'm level 5 now, don't forget that. I've got a 45-foot movement speed. So always, try and always use reckless. If you've raged, use reckless attack. That's the whole point of it. I have used the potion of Hill Giant Strength, which is why I've got a +5 here. In the next fight I will not use that and just use the dexterity to show you what that's like. Once you've used the reckless attack, you don't need to actually use it again. We will automatically have advantage on our attack rolls. Let's just show you, if I want to throw this, I still get advantage on the thrown attack. On a thrown weapon. This time it didn't add double my strength modifier. I don't quite understand why it did that earlier in the video. I really can't tell. This Barbarian is the Berserker, and before I go any further, I have cast Bless, and I have also used Gale to cast Magic Weapon onto the Barbarian, so it's got an extra +1 weapon enchantment. So I'm going to do... with Haste. Get as close as I can, won't be quite close enough. I'm going to Frenzy. Oh, also, this is the one with the Helmet of Grit, and I started with below 50% hit points. I've also had Shadowheart cast Aid on everyone, so what I'm going to do is go into Frenzy. Also, since this is the Barbarian that has 2 bonus actions, I'm going to show you the Illithid power. This is the main downside, it requires a bonus action. So for most Barbarians, it takes 1 turn to rage, 1 bonus action to rage, and a 2nd turn's bonus action to cast this. Whereas if I'm a Berserker, I probably don't want to do that. I want to be using my bonus action to attack. Anyway, at the cost of your health, 1d4 psychic damage per turn, you intensify your attacks and prevent your age from ending early because you're always taking damage. You deal an additional 1d4 slashing damage with weapon attacks. That's okay. The main downside is actually just the bonus action. I don't care about the extra damage. It's fine, I'm a Barbarian. I've got a massive pool of hit points. So I'm going to use it. This is my Endless Rage. Now I can't quite reach Logan here. I'm just going to start throwing. If we throw first, we don't actually get a 2nd attack. If you want to throw a weapon and have 2 attacks, you have to use a melee attack first, or maybe an attack with a ranged weapon and then throw if you want to get 2 attacks. Let's have a quick look at that. So 6 from the, maximum damage from the throwing axe there, +4 from the strength, and +1 from 1d4. This would stack with Enlarged for an additional 1d4, If I had a melee weapon, I could set it on fire, or set it on fire, dip it in fire, or use poison to get an extra 1d4 on top of that even. So you can get lots of sources of damage with a Barbarian and using different effects for your weapons. So for example, on this Barbarian, I could use Endless Rage, or I could use my bonus action to dash to get Wrath for 3 turns, which I think is actually better than just the 1d4 damage, extra damage. So, also because of the Fleet Fingers, I can jump freely. Let's use Reckless Attack against Holvik. And we've got +2 Wrath, +1/+1/+1 Wrath. This is what I was talking about earlier. We get extra bonus damage from Wrath, where we almost certainly should not be having it. Anyway, we're getting massive damage numbers with this. Use it if you want to. If you think it's broken, don't use it. Your choice. Because of Fleet Fingers, I got a free jump. I'm actually going to try and come this way so I can try and use the Eagle Diving Strike, actually. Got massive movement speed because I've dashed as a bonus action. Oh man, I could get all the way down there, couldn't I? Right, I'm just going to wait up here so I can use Diving Strike later. The Barbarian's actually taking a fair bit of damage, so I am going to use Healing Word. Try and keep him alive for a bit longer. Alright, this is where the Berserker comes into his own now. With the Helmet of Grit especially. So I'm going to use a Reckless Attack first. Just want to double check. Let's turn on Great Weapon Master, shall we? 70% chance is pretty good. It's not the best, but just whack. I've now got a choice. I could go straight for Get Coal. I could use a bonus action Enraged Throw, which is I think what I'm going to do. I don't have any throwing weapons on him. You can throw anything you want. Let's throw a Great Axe. Knocks him prone. I've still got that. And I've still got another Enraged Throw if I want, actually. Or Frenzied Strike. Oh, Enraged Throw. I can't quite throw him down there. Not quite strong enough. That would be awesome. So let's just go for Frenzy. It doesn't matter. There's no actual difference between Great Weapon Master Bonus Attack or Frenzied Strike, to be honest. Gone. I mean, look at this. Some of this is boosted by the fact we do have Bless and Magic Weapon. Those hit chances wouldn't be as high without them, but it just solves so many problems. I'm going to get him down there to try and get Novice Garmor to come out of hiding, basically. So Novice Garmor came out of hiding, fell into effectively what was a trap. Using Dash to get extra Wrath turns, extra turns for Wrath. And then I've got my lovely Diving Strike. Unfortunately, I can't get advantage on it, but I do get a high ground bonus, which is pretty cool. Knock them prone. This time, yeah, +4 damage from Wrath. Who knows why? I don't need to use Reckless Attack. I've got advantage since he's prone, so might as well go for Piercing Strike. And again, we're just doing pretty decent damage here. Just for the sake of it. I could jump, doesn't do anything. And we've got Tav here. I mean, with Great Weapon Master, let's use Pommel Strike. Because that actually does do an extra 10 damage. And Rage was ended. I mean, obviously some of this is very easy because I'm level 5, but that was one of the quickest times I've done this fight. Just want to point out one more time, that has especially as a Berserker, it doesn't really matter for a Berserker really. We get these intimidation checks. Again, got advantage. I don't think I've ever seen an intimidation check with the Barbarian that doesn't have advantage. I quite like these choices here. Move your boat or sink. Make the choice. Not too difficult. There we are.
All right. No reason to get your tongue in a twist.
So we don't have to take the violent option. So I think Grym is supposed to be scary. However, what we're going to try... Where are my potions of speed? What we're going to try... Because we're cheeky. Is this so? Tav has 2 actions, 2 bonus actions. Each action can have 2 weapon attacks. I've also cast Bless and Magic Weapon like before to increase my chances to hit to 40%. With Reckless Attack, 64%. What I'm going to do is Rage first. Frenzy. And I'll try this. 46 damage. Although the chance to hit isn't great, because Grym's armor class is particularly high, so even with all these bonuses, it's not too easy to hit him. He's vulnerable to bludgeoning damage. This is where making sure you've got the right weapon equipped helps.
Nothing will stand in my way.
So let's go for Concussive Smash. Actually, for Concussive Smash, I'm going to turn off Great Weapon Master because I really want this to hit. Ah, he passed his saving throw. If it failed, it would have actually potentially lowered his armor class a tiny bit. Anyway, that's one action used. I'm very quiet, the music in the background, don't know why. Just gonna keep going. I think maybe I'll turn that back on again. We'll risk it for a biscuit. Doing particularly well so far. What I should have done earlier, let's try and throw something, anything. 60% chance. I think it's worth taking an opportunity attack. Or not. Or not. Right, I suck. We'll try this Barbarian. Ooh, missed. 5 damage. Great. 5 damage. Okay. So I do want to point out, while we're using dexterity, we're not actually receiving any extra frenzy damage, any rage damage. It's not frenzy, is it? It's the Eagle Heart Rage. Because it's not a strength weapon. This is the main downside to using finesse weapons, actually, as a barbarian. So what I'm going to try this time, ooh, no, not that, is an enraged throw, or 2 if I need to. I'm going to throw a ladle at Grym. Ooh, it misses. We'll try again with a fish head. And we can knock Grym prone with a fish head, believe it or not. And I've got 2 actions, again, only because I'm hasted. Perhaps I could have used this haste spell. We should actually make haste last for more than just 3 turns. So we'll go for Tavheart first. Let's go for Piercing Strike. Actually, I think I need to use this. And let's go for a Piercing Strike. Not bad, not bad. Let's try and hit again. 6 damage. Oh well. That's what Tav here is for. 76 damage because of a critical hit. We just need to keep going. Finish this, no problems. Missed, but still did 8 damage. You might be wondering, why aren't I using Reckless Attack? Well, I've already got advantage because Grym is prone, which is why I used the Enraged Throw. I think to try and make sure I do actually do a bit more damage, going to turn this off. There we are, next turn. He'll basically die. And like, yeah, let's just try and keep him alive, shall we? No worries. No worries at all. I mean, these are strength saving throws, so while they're raged even, we've got advantage on these strength saving throws. Not a worry. He's superheated still. I don't need all this extra weapon from Great Weapon Master all in, so Reckless Attack will do. Just super easy. Equip, oh, wrong barbarian. Equip a weapon that does bludgeoning damage. But the point there really is that we get advantage on our attacks, and we can take many attacks as a berserker in particular. Using a finesse weapon here is usually a very bad idea, because also we don't get the extra damage from the rage, or in this case, whatever they call it, the Rage Eagle Heart. I'm just going to show off an enlarged barbarian here. One benefit of being enlarged, apart from the extra 1d4 damage, is advantage on strength checks and saving throws. So shove is a strength check. Look at that, 96% chance. Down they go. So I'm going to go with the frenzy. Let's try reckless attack. 88% chance. Have I got? I haven't got this turned on. Look at that damage. 20 to 37 damage. 64% chance. I personally don't like those odds. So I'm going to change this. So we did 1 on 1d10. Oh my gosh. Plus 1 from the weapon itself. 4 from strength. 4 from 1 from being enlarged. 2 from rage. Plus an extra 4 lightning damage. And why did I heal myself for 4 damage? Because of the Absolute's Talisman. This should kill them. Brilliant. So I can now probably use Enraged Throw with a book. Call back to Barbarian here. Donk. Oh, over they go. Okay, we're back to the Barbarians' turns. So enraged throw. Oh, almost. Enraged throw. A void bulb. Bring everyone a bit together. So none of them ended prone. I think because of the void bulb. I'm gonna come up closer. What I can do now. Cleave against these two. That was always a risk of using the Light of Creation halberd. I should have used Reckless Attack first perhaps, but never mind. So we're going to get this Raging Eagle Heart. See if we can take someone out. Ooh. Right. Ooh, yeah, I hate Mind Masters. Mind Masters are the worst. So we've got this extra jump because of Fleet Fingers. Prevents any opportunity attacks. I'm right in. Right up to them. No need to mess around. Take them out. Easy. One good use of Barbarians and melee characters in general, and that Void Bulb, is grouping everyone up together. So although this is about Barbarians, we can work as a team. Why wouldn't we do that? It would be silly not to have used Fireball there. So everyone's been weakened. Alright, something I haven't shown you yet actually is we can use improvised weapon. Too heavy to pick up. Right, see if we can sort that out. I should really have used the potion or elixir of Giant Strength earlier, because that uses a bonus action. Still too heavy to pick up. I can pick up that one. Right, what we're going to do is use improvised weapon. Bonus action. Pick up draw and hit Dalthar with draw. Doesn't do a huge amount of damage. The rage damage does get added on at least. Reckless attack against someone who might give us an extra... Oh no, I've used up both bonus actions anyway. Let's use it here. So we can try and use... Not reckless attack. I'll use cleave. Never mind. Right, let's go and basically kill someone else. I've already used reckless attack. Gone. Softened by fireball. Dashing to get the Turns of Wrath. Gone. This time just 1 bonus from Wrath. I can't quite tell when it gives like +3 and +1. Seems to no rhyme or reason. Here we are, 11 damage. But yeah, no +2. I know +2 doesn't sound like loads, but it all really does help and add up. So between the turns, Gale did cast Ray of Frost, actually turned this ground to ice. And Tafhart here had advantage because of the level 2 ability. So we rolled a 23. We passed a saving throw of 12. Once again, it's got no other use for our bonus action really. Maybe could have used Endless Rage. And I've got +1/+1/+1/+1 from Wrath. Who knows what's really going on here.
Breathe deep and move.
Almost certain to pass that. 20 with advantage. Alright. Let's knock someone over with a mug, because I think it looks funny. Didn't do any damage, but because we hit them, they fell prone. Hopefully we don't. Yeah, it's good. Hoping I don't fall over on the ice, because that would be really bad. I don't need reckless attack. Not that it makes much of a difference. Yeah, let's turn this back on. You've got to make decisions when to do it. I do have advantage, even though it doesn't say that I do. I mean, look at that. That's absolutely crazy. 26 damage because of that all-in plus 1d4. What I haven't used is poison, which I could have used at some point. Gone. 36 damage. I mean, that's immense. I don't think many of the classes can output that much damage so consistently. We've got free access to advantage as a barbarian. We're not always going to be enlarged, alright? I understand that. Ooh, rush attack. Just to get some extra distance. Helps me get closer for next turn. So we've got this archer hiding away, sniping away from up there. No one's particularly close. If I could cast jump on Tav, I'd probably be able to get up there, but I can't, right? So what I'm going to do as an Eagle Heart is do my very best. I don't think I'll quite make it, but I'll get as close as I can. Got a free jump there with the gloves. See, I'm not quite going to make it, but it doesn't mean it's wasted. Going to get very, very close. Unfortunately, I'm going to throw something, but unfortunately I can't get advantage on this attack throw. We can't use reckless attack with something else. In fact, instead of throwing, I'm going to use Jolt Shooter because I get 2 attacks. And I can use Diving Strike. I obviously planned that. I don't understand why it's not coming up now. Gonna go down anyway. Not that it knocks him prone. And I got another attack. Because apparently this didn't use an action, even though it should have done. Very strange. I'll take it. And now I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 turns of Wrath or something. Maybe 7, not turns, but 7 bonus damage from Wrath. It's completely busted and broken. Alright, now we got this dude. This is all quite dangerous. I do have advantage against Grease. So what I am going to do is just jump over. It's kind of a waste of a bonus action. But if I fall prone, I lose my whole turn, which I really don't want. So, gonna go again. You want to throw something heavy as possible. You do more damage. There we are, knocked down. And the only people who can really see us and attack us is this Duergar here. If I can throw down one of these. Yeah, I mean, use up a whole action. We're near at the end of the combat here now. I don't even need those two to do anything. Already raging. Let's get all this Wrath going. I mean, I just can't really tell what's going on there with the Wrath. It is... There's no other word for it apart from broken. I wonder if she can get a diving strike down into here. I don't think the line of sight's going to work out. Path is interrupted, yeah, I can't quite make it down there. But it doesn't mean I can't dive down here though. So next turn I can actually dive down again. Alright, yeah, this is actually broken. We can do multiple diving strikes in a turn. If she had Hammercraft equipped, jumping around would do an extra 1d4 thunder damage, but it doesn't. We've got Featherfall, so why not? Let's see if I can just jump down there. We'll finish off everyone if we can. I can't see the spiders, which is very strange. Reckless attack. 30 damage. 33 damage. Just wrecking them. Alright. We can target their portraits though. Oh, there they are. Ooh. Lost my turn there because of the Light of Creation. Yeah, I have to be at least 5 feet above the target. So let's go for you. And then you. Ooh, not quite. Yeah, this pretty much brings us to the end of the video. Let me know what you think of Barbarians. I absolutely love them, to be honest. I just love throwing things around, jumping around. A shovel. And having Reckless Attack, Great Weapon Master, is brilliant. Look at that. Easy stuff, I would say. Alright, so yeah, let me know what is your favourite subclass. I think in terms of pure damage, the Berserker is better, but we get a lot more utility with the Wildheart Barbarians. Let me know what weapons you like using. I think the Helmet of Grit is very strong for any Barbarian really, but again, the Berserker is probably better because we have more bonus actions to use. But saying that, on an Eagleheart Barbarian, for example, if I had the Helmet of Grit at the beginning and I had less than 50% hit points, I can rage and dash on the same turn to start building up those turns of Wrath. Thank you very much to all the members of my channel. You really help support my channel. If you made it this far, please do consider subscribing. Thank you very much for watching, and hopefully catch you in the next one.